Hello everybody, welcome to the I Am IT Geek YouTube channel. My name is Shabazz Dan. As ever, I am the IT Geek. Welcome back to this Microsoft SC-100 Cybersecurity Architect exam topic series. Been quite busy recently, so there's been a bit of a pause in sort of, not pause, but I've not been uploading videos as much. Hopefully I've kind of got through that now, and I'm going to be releasing a lot more regularly and try to finish this long series. I've kind of made a decision as well that I'm going to move away from the exam topic series for a while and kind of go back to my first love really in tech, which is like really VDI, as a virtual desktop, DevBox, Windows 365, and some topics linked to that. Got some other really good ideas as well for content coming up, so do keep an eye out for that. Without further ado, let's get started with this episode. So we're now starting topic 13 today. So new topic. So this is 5 videos in this topic, I believe, or five parts to this topic. And as I said before, this is a Microsoft Cybersecurity Architect exam topic series. So this topic is actually designing solutions for security posture management in hybrid and multi-cloud environments. I'm going to start off today by talking about a bit of an introduction to hybrid and multi-cloud environments. Then we're going to do some posture evaluation in Microsoft, the security benchmark in Defender for Cloud. I'm going to look at that in the demo as well, specifically to do with the posture evaluation. So let's talk about an introduction to hybrid and multi-cloud environments first of all. So visibility into the sort of health and existing of all sort of existing and future infrastructure applications, having that in a sort of single pane of glass is quite vital. The difficulty in integrating on-premises policies and updates with cloud infrastructure is being one since this has been a problem for a while. Organizations understand the need for sort of implementing sort of a governance standard throughout your environment. There's a wide range of skills across on-premises and cloud because there are often sort of different application development teams in your organization. Customers are also looking for sort of consistent, interoperability between the two so they can unify those sort of development practices. There's a desire to manage security posture without heavily modifying the sort of current operations as well. Cloud and multi-cloud compounds this challenge. It can decrease sort of trust and sort of increase apprehension as well towards the systems. So we've got we've got hybrid clouds. This combines your private cloud and your on-premises cloud. Multi-cloud obviously is where you have different public clouds, so AWS, GCP, a combination of those, and maybe Azure as well, for example. And again, we've just mentioned some of those challenges as well. So these are all challenges that we need to try and overcome. Let's talk about posture sort of evaluation now with Microsoft Cloud Security Benchmark, because this helps with that sort of multi-cloud and on-premises problem as well. So posture and vulnerability management focuses on controls for sort of assessing cloud security posture, including vulnerability, penetration testing and remediation, as well as sort of security configuration tracking as well, reporting and sort of correction in cloud resources. So we've got 4 different sort of controls here, and as we'll see in the demo, we'll look more into the demo about how you can remediate some of these. But we've got PV1 to PV4. So PV1 is define, establish, search, secure configurations. So the security principle around this is you need to define the sort of security configuration baselines for different resource types in the cloud. Alternatively, you can use configuration management tools to establish the configuration baseline automatically before or during resource deployment, so the environment can be sort of compliant by default after the deployment. From an Azure guidance perspective, you can use Azure landing zones and blueprints to accelerate the workload deployment by setting up configuration of services and application environments, including Azure Resource Manager templates, use Azure RBAC controls, Azure policy, your landing zone, and obviously blueprint definitions as well. Obviously, this is a Microsoft exam, but because it's multi-cloud, you do need to kind of have a think about other clouds as well. From an AWS guidance perspective, it recommends, Defender for Cloud recommends, or Microsoft Cloud Security Benchmark recommends using AWS Cloud Formation templates and AWS config rules in the sort of AWS landing zone definitions to automate that deployment and configuration of services and application environments. Moving on to PV2, so this is audit and enforce secure configuration. The security principle guidance is continuously monitoring and alert when there is a sort of deviation from the defined configuration baseline. You can enforce a desired configuration according to the baseline configuration by denying sort of non-compliant configuration for deploying a configuration. The Azure guidance for this is to use Microsoft Friend of a Cloud to configure Azure policy to audit and enforce configuration for your Azure resources. Use Azure Monitor as well to create alerts when there is a sort of configuration deviation detected on the resource. You can use Azure policy as well, specifically deny and deploy if not exist rule to enforce or secure config across your Azure resources. For resource configuration audit and enforcement, not supported by Azure policy, you might need to sort of write your own scripts or use third-party tooling to implement the configuration audit and enforcement. The AWS guidance with PV2 is to use AWS config rule to audit configurations of your AWS resources, and you can choose to resolve the configuration drift using AWS System Manager Automation, which is associated with the sort of AWS config rule. You can use Amazon CloudWatch as well to create alerts when there is a sort of configuration deviation detected on your resources. And the resource configuration audit and enforcement where it's not supported by AWS config, again, you might want to write your own scripts or use third-party tooling to implement those configuration audit enforcements. You can also centrally monitor the configuration drifting by onboarding your sort of AWS account to Defender for Cloud as well. We'll talk about PV3 specifically. The security principle here is to define the secure configuration of your compute resources, such as VMs and containers. Use configuration management tools to establish a configuration baseline automatically before or during compute resource deployment, so the environment can be compliant by default after the deployment. Alternatively, you can use pre-configured images to build desired configuration baseline into the compute resource images template. The Azure guidance for this is to use the Azure recommended operating system security baselines for both Windows and Linux as a benchmark to define your sort of compute configuration baseline. Additionally, you can use custom VM images using Azure Image Builder or container image with Azure Policy, guest configuration and Azure Automation state configuration to establish the desired sort of security configuration. From an AWS guidance perspective, it recommends using EC2 AWS Machine Image or AMI from sort of trusted sources on Marketplace as a benchmark to define your EC2 configuration baseline. Additionally, you can use EC2 Image Builder, custom AMI templates with a sort of system manager agent to establish a desired configuration, security configuration. We then have PV4, which is for audit and enforcing secure configuration for compute resources. So the security principle here is continuously monitoring and alerting when there is deviation from the cloud, from a defined configuration baseline in your cloud compute resources. You can enforce the desired configuration according to the baseline configuration by denying the non-compliant configuration or deploying the compute resources. From an Azure guidance perspective, it recommends using Microsoft Friend for Cloud and Azure Policy guest configuration agent to regularly assess and remediate configuration deviations on your Azure compute resources, including virtual machines, containers, and other sort of resources. In addition, you can use Azure Resource Manager templates, custom operating system images, or Azure Automation state configuration to maintain the security config of the OS. Microsoft VM templates in conjunction with Azure Automation state config can assist in maintaining those security requirements. And then we've got the AWS guidance, so you can use the AWS System Manager State Manager feature to regularly assess and remediate configuration deviations on your EC2 instances. In addition, you can use the CloudFormation templates, custom operating system images to maintain the security configuration of your OS. AMI templates in conjunction with the System Manager can also assist in meeting and maintaining security requirements. And you can centrally monitor and manage the OS configuration drift using Azure Automation State Config for the onboarding of Azure Security Governance using multiple methods, including onboarding your AWS account into Microsoft Friend of Cloud, using Azure Arc enabled VMs for your EC2 instances without using the onboarding, without onboarding AWS account as well. So you don't have to do that. You don't have to onboard it into Defender. Again, just sticking with the Microsoft Cloud Security benchmark. So we've got PV5, PV6, and PV7, which I quickly want to discuss now. We start off with PV5, which is perform vulnerability assessments. So from a security principle perspective, you perform vulnerability assessments for your cloud at all tiers, sort of in a fixed schedule or on demand. You can track and compare the scan results to verify vulnerabilities that check that they're remediated. The assessment should include all types of vulnerabilities, such as vulnerabilities in Azure services, networks, the web, OS, and misconfigurations, and so on. From an Azure guidance perspective, they recommend following recommendations of Microsoft 100 Cloud for performing vulnerability assessments for Azure virtual machines, container images, and SQL servers. Defender for Cloud has a sort of built-in vulnerability scanner for virtual machines. So you can use a third-party solution for performing the assessments on your network devices and applications as well, like web applications, for example. And then you can export those scan results at consistent intervals and compare the results with previous scans to verify that vulnerabilities have actually been remediated. When using vulnerability management recommendations, it's suggested by Microsoft 100 Cloud, you can sort of pivot into the sort of selected solutions portal to view the historic scan data. Again, we'll be looking at all these in the portal shortly. The AWS guidance is to use Amazon Inspector to scan your Amazon EC2 instances and container images residing in Amazon Elastic Container Registry, Amazon ECR, for sort of software vulnerabilities and unintended network exposure. Use a third-party solution as well for performing vulnerability for the network devices and applications, for example, web applications. PV6 is rapidly and automatically remediating vulnerabilities. So from a security principle perspective, rapidly and automatically in deploying patches to remediate vulnerabilities in your cloud resources. You can use the appropriate risk-based approach to prioritize the sort of remediation of vulnerabilities. Example, this is more sort of severe vulnerabilities in a higher value asset should be addressed as a sort of a high priority. From an Azure guidance perspective, you can prioritize which updates to deploy first using a common risk scoring program, such as common vulnerability scoring system, or the default risk ratings provided by your third-party scanning tool, and tailor that to your sort of environment. You should also consider which applications present a high security risk and which ones require high uptime. You can use the Zero Automation Management or a third-party solution to ensure that the most recent security updates are installed on Windows and Linux VMs. The AWS guidance is to use AWS System Manager or Patch Manager to ensure that most recent security updates are installed on your OS and applications. Patch Manager supports sort of patch baselines to allow you to define a list of approved and rejected patches for your system. Finally, PV7, before we move into the demo, PV7, which is to conduct regular red team operations. Security principle here is to simulate real-world attacks to provide a more complex and complete view of your organization's vulnerabilities. Red team operations and penetration testing complement sort of the traditional vulnerability scanning approach to discover risks. The AWS guidance, Azure guidance first, is as required, conduct penetration testing or red team activities on your Azure resources and ensure remediation of all critical security findings. And then AWS guidance as required again to conduct penetration testing or red team activities on your AWS resources to ensure remediation of all sort of critical security findings. So we're going to move into the demo now. So I'm going to go into the Defender for Cloud portal. We're going to have a look at some of the remediation tasks you can do with the sort of posture and vulnerability management. So please join me in the demo. So we're in the Defender for Cloud portal here. I want to go to regulatory compliance, and we're at the Microsoft Cloud Security Benchmark, and I want to actually go down to PV, so posture and vulnerability management, and here are some of the ones we were talking about. As you can see, we've got PV 1 to 7. 7's grayed out, but if we just go to one of the red ones, PV 2. So this is the audit and enforce secure configuration. Let's look at this for example. So from an Azure perspective, it's telling me for an automated assessment, API management minimum API version should be set to 2019-12-01 or higher. So again, if I go into that, I obviously have a resource that isn't. It tells us what the remediation steps. And unfortunately, in this case, it's actually manual. So we have to set the minimum API version. So if we go into the Azure portal, we can navigate to the API management blade, select the settings and prevent users from read only. And we can select yes under accessing service secrets. So again, that's just one of how we could fix that one. If we go further down, I can see PV3 I'm already, because I've not got any Azure resources that are affected by it. But if we do look, for example, look at the AWS ones here. If I had onboarded AWS account into here, stuff like for defining and establishing secure configuration for compute resources, which is PV3, ensuring AWS Security Hub is enabled, making sure instances managed by system manager should have an association compliance status of COMPI. Say COMPI, it should be of compliant even, COMPI. I thought that was an I. Anyway, and also EC2 instances should be managed by AWS System Manager. So again, see some examples of some of the remediations we need to do in the auto assessments that we need to do. Going out PV4, this is around auditing for secure configuration to compute resources. Again, not got any resources apart from the top one, so guest configuration extension should be installed. I've got 2 VMs that need that, so if we're going to check out the actual remediation steps and some other related recommendations we can complete. But quick fix is to select the unhealthy resources. I can click on fix. Or if I want to manually register the subscription with the guest configuration resource provider, we can then install the guest configuration extension on the machine and enable the system assign manager identity. So as you can see, a bit of a pattern, some of the things we can do within posture and assessment and vulnerability assessment. Let's just go down to PV6. Find rapidly and automatically remediate vulnerabilities. I've got 2 here, so machine should be configured to periodically check for missing updates, and SQL databases should have vulnerability findings resolved. So I've got those 2 that I need to correct in my demo portal. Again, some remediation steps there. Can either do the quick fix or I can do manual remediation, which is to go to Azure Update Manager and make sure I have enabled periodic assessment. So that was just a quick kind of guide, just to basically want to look through Defender for Cloud Portal in the demo and just show you, so you could visualize basically what we're talking about in the theory part of this topic. So we're moving on to topic 2 next, and we are coming, we're almost there with this series. I do appreciate everyone's support. It's been a very popular series, and the exam stuff definitely normally is quite popular. So in the description below, you'll see links to measure up a discounted exam. I definitely recommend you do some practice exams. Measure Up also one of the official partners for Microsoft, so it's all legit. Discounted exam there. Also Microsoft Learn content, as well as the GitHub repository for the case studies. I definitely recommend looking through those case studies as well. So thank you for watching me. Until next time, goodbye.